If you're a gamer, you've probably heard about Cyberpunk and all the things that went wrong with it, and if you haven't, well, Cyberpunk 2077 was a flop that set back CDPR's stock price by years and ruined their reputation, one which they had gained from the release of The Witcher 3, while the RPG system and book were relatively forgotten due to an aging generation, confusing and complicated rule setup, and its inability to cater to younger audiences, unlike the newer edition of Dungeons & Dragons. And now here comes the animation in a world post The Legend of Vox Machina and major Critical Role fandom and fame. So is it too late for this show to shine? Well, here are my thoughts.
Let's go! Let's go! Yes! 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 Let's fucking go!
Fair warning, as an intellectual property, I love all things cyberpunk, and by and large I also love Edgerunner. The content of the cyberpunk universe has always been unapologetically mature and has a fantastical approach to the sci-fi genre with its use of cultural and linguistic fusion. So while you might want to have some understanding of the RPG and the video game to understand a myriad of references, like the UI that occurs when receiving a phone call, or why they need to chill in an ice bath when deep diving, neither are needed to enjoy the show. This is about the only context you'll need.
The corporations control their world from their skyscraper fortresses, enforcing their rule with armies of cyborg assassins. On the street, booster gangs roam a shattered urban wilderness. The rest of the world is a perpetual party as fashion model beautiful techies rub biosculpt jobs with battle-armored road warriors in the hottest clubs, sleaziest bars, and meanest streets this side of the post-Holocaust. The future never looked so bad. This is cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is just so over the top.
Edgerunner is a cocktail of world building. It's self-supporting, self-building, and most importantly, heedless of exposition for thematic reasoning. It's dark and twisted, set in a hyper-capitalistic society which builds its own tragic irony from the very first episode, a feature that can only be recognized from a second dance with this macabre Shakespearean tragedy. While my love for this show doesn't just come from obvious asides to Romeo and Juliet with the love story built on lust and rose-colored glasses, unsaid words, and unfeasible promises, Macbeth in cyberpsychosis and out damn spot out, I say, or the play of Julius Caesar and the consequences of evil or selfish behavior lasting longer than the memory of good intentions, its foundations are built on the consideration of how they choose to tell this cyclical story and its theme of trying to make something of oneself and the tolls it takes to get there. Bloody hell, the struggles of the lower middle class and the societal difficulties of acceptance in a preparatory school environment is incredibly concisely conveyed. And its entire first episode plays on that discomfort enough so that our protagonist is left like Hamlet, unwilling to accept the supposed status quo, for something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
High time I chromed the fuck up.
Edgerunner is exceptional, and I'll say it, it's probably the best thing Studio Trigger has produced, because while they are famous for making humor through their animation style or lack thereof, Edgerunner's use of CGI, though most likely unintentional and probably based on budgetary concerns, considering I had to check if my screen froze during one scene due to excessively repeated frames, its explosions and car chase scenes managed to exemplify the ridiculousness of this world in a way which makes not only the stakes, but the characters and its overall art style feel more real and grounded through the retro tech feel that matches with the overall design of the cyberpunk universe. Praise over and done with for the most part, the show has some subtle things that they do which could be expanded upon to add just a hint more charm to the universe and the culture within, or could simply be presented better. Personally, as someone who watched it in the English dub,
I believe I was clear when I requested only the navigation data.
Wait a minute. Is that my man Gus from Breaking Bad?
I would have loved to see more slang from the other languages implemented, as Night City is an extreme version of the American melting pot. For instance, David Martinez could have spoken some Spanish, intermixed with English or even Japanese to the biker, as he was a student of Arasaka Academy with straight A's who were originally intended to climb the corpo ladder. Some episodes end abruptly, leaving us with a sense of confusion as we struggle to understand how much time has passed in the following episode, while the choice to cut to credits is meant to leave us hanging on that final emotional note from each episode's final scene. For a binge-watching service or series on Netflix, it makes that final cut narratively annoying, since we will most likely immediately start the next episode without any delay. So if for some reason you are watching this and you haven't watched the show yet or are planning on rewatching it, Take a day or two in between each episode to get the full effect of lingering on that emotional story beat. Start of episode cliffhangers through a preview of events to come in an episode aren't enjoyable personally for me. I think while they are important for keeping someone tuned for the conclusion of the episode, slice of life content shouldn't be overshadowed by the eminence of darker things to come. Episode 4 of Edgerunners being a key example, especially when we consider that this series wasn't made with ads in mind, so there's even less of a reason to try gimmicky methods to keep someone going till the mid-roll. Episodes that are different from the obvious culture of what's occurring, like Mythic Quest's Episode 5 and its second season Episode 6 on Apple TV, should be noted for being exceptionally well-contained stories that are interesting because the universe and the development of characters is interesting, and it's created, like Edgerunners, with the intent of being a web series, so it doesn't need to rely on being gimmicky, rather it can focus on just telling a story or setting a mood. Now, while I could go on and on about my love for the show and how they included the art and locations of the video game and the RPG books, or the mildly concerning amount of gore, and how that can turn people off from the series, further comments would honestly be redundant and irrelevant. It's a great show, and Edgerunner is on the cusp of failure to be recognized for the nova it is. It definitely makes my final cut, with its dystopian world where people die every day, but where chooms gotta stick together if they ever want to make it out without getting zeroed. Also, Rebecca is best girl.
We're having a moment here! Fuck yeah!
I wasn't seen this out long.